Good morning students and welcome back to your English class. Once again this is your English teacher Santosh Rathod. Students, in today's class we are going to start our new topic, that is the sentences. Students, we have completed lesson number 3rd in grammar. Now we are going to start first chapter. Okay, so let's start. Before starting the lesson, the sentence, I would like to ask you, what do you understand by the term sentence? Yes students, you all have read the term sentence in your 6th class, right? So sentence is a group of words that conveys complete sense. Okay, what is sentence? The group of words that conveys complete sense is called a sentence. So students, in order to make a sentence, you need to place every word in a correct order or in a correct place. Okay, then only that sentence will be, that group of word will be called sentence. Okay, now let me give you some example to make you understand. First example is licking the roof is. Students, this is the group of word which is not arranged properly or which is not arranged in a correct order. So this will not be called sentence. But if I arrange this group of word in a correct order, then we can say that it is a sentence. Like the roof is leaking and full stop. So now this is the sentence because we have placed every word in a correct order. Okay students, so the group of words that conveys complete sense is called a sentence. Now let's move forward. Now students, our next topic is a phrase. Student, phrase is a group of words that conveys some sense but not complete sense. That conveys some sense but not complete sense. Okay, now one thing you need to notice always, that a phrase does not have a subject and a verb. Okay, now let's see some example. A beautiful dress, a nice story. Both of these sentences are not having a subject and a verb and not conveying a complete sense. So that's why these two sentences will be called a phrase. Again students, a phrase does not convey the complete sense and does not have a subject and a verb. So let's read new topic now. Students, our next topic is a clause. What is clause? Clause again is a group of words that conveys some sense but not complete sense. Is called a clause. Now student, you might be thinking, what is the difference between a phrase and a clause? Because both are having the same definitions. Both are not conveying the complete sense. Now let me tell you what is the difference between a clause and a phrase. A phrase does not have a subject and a verb, whereas a clause has a subject and a verb. Is it clear to you? A phrase does not has a subject and a verb, and a clause has a subject and a verb in it. Okay? Now let's see some example. Because it is raining. Because it is raining. Now in this sentence, in this group of words, we have a subject and a verb. I know it is not conveying a complete sense, but it is conveying some sense and has a subject and a verb. That's the reason it will be called a clause. Again in the next example, but he went there anyway. Here he is the subject and went is a verb. Okay, and it is again not conveying a complete sense but some sense and has a subject and a verb with it, and that's the reason it will be called a clause. So I think you have understood what is a clause and what is a verb and what is the difference between a clause and a verb. Okay students, let's move forward and learn kind of clause. Now student, we have read what is clause. Now students, clause has its two types, that is a independent clause and a dependent clause. Let's read both of them. First of all, what is independent clause? Independent clause is a clause which conveys complete meaning and can stand alone. Clause that conveys complete meaning and can stand alone will be independent clause, whereas dependent clause is a clause which does not convey complete meaning and depend on independent clause to make the complete meaning or to convey the complete meaning. Let's understand both of these with two examples. Students, first example is, I will meet you when the film is over. First of all, here you have to divide the sentence into two parts. I will meet you, the first clause, and the second clause, when the film is over. Now, again we will do this thing in the second sentence. This is the house, and the second clause will be where my father was born. Now you have to recognize which of these clauses can stand alone and convey the complete meaning. First sentence, first clause, I will meet you. It is the clause which is conveying the complete sense and can stand alone without the help of this clause. So this sentence, this clause will be independent clause, and this sentence will be dependent clause because it depends on this sentence to convey the complete sense when the film is over. So it is not conveying the complete sense, and that's the reason it will be a dependent clause. Similarly, this is the house. This group of word means this clause can stand alone and conveying the complete sense, and that's the reason it will be called independent clause because it can stand alone without the support of the another clause. And where my father was born, this clause can't stand alone, so it will be called dependent clause. Okay students, now I hope you have understood this topic and a sentence, a phrase and a clause. You all have understood this thing. Now I would like to ask you a question. You have listened the whole video. Now this question you have to answer me through your WhatsApp. Okay, my question is, what is the difference between a phrase and a clause?